So we're here to walk you through the cave puzzle from this Thursday. It actually was first made to be a Wednesday puzzle, and then our test solvers didn't do very well with it, so it got moved later in the week. And it also suggested there may be some tips and tricks that are basic to cave puzzles. It could just be learned by talking through the solution to it, so that's what we'll show you here today. The first obvious place to start is in this corner where the 5 just doesn't have much opportunity to do anything else because it's going to use all the cells the 4 will see. Getting to this state is pretty quick, and if you've done enough cave puzzles you'll recognize this is a situation where to avoid a checkerboard kind of pattern, the 2 has to come to the left and fill up this way to satisfy the normal constraint that you don't strand a shaded cell inside the middle of the grid. So with that progress in this corner, and particularly if this shaded cell here, we can start to do things like say that if the 7 took as many as those 4 cells, 5, 6, 7, it must come up to this space, and you can do a similar thing with this 6 and connect it up there. And elsewhere in the puzzle, that same kind of thinking can give you a few cells of progress, and that's one of the places you'll want to start now. So for instance, this clue here can take as many as 5 in this row, so it must come down 1. We've now actually made a link between a 5 and 7 clue, so this has to have 2 more cells in this column than the 5 does, which means right now if the 5 only has this cell, the 7 needs 2 more, which means the 7 at least needs to take this. And it's useful at this time, I think this is a kind of notation I'll use, is something like this X. It means at least one, possibly both of these cells are shaded in, but it's certainly the case that there's a shaded cell that needs to get out, and we see right now that there's not a lot of room for it. And we actually focus on the 9, the 9 can only take 5 in this row, so if it's taking 4 more cells in this column, it must take at least this. That this actually has a very pinned path, either this direction or this direction, for this shaded cell, wherever it is, to get out. And in particular, if you imagined it coming this direction over to the right, this 5 now has to go straight down 5 cells, but it can't do that because there's also a kind of block somewhere between these 2 digits, which means the shaded cell has to escape this way, and that means, for instance, that the 9 comes up to take those cells to complete that column. It'll take 5 in this row wherever it can. Other things that means, right now this 7 here can take as many as 6, needs to come across. This can take 4, 5, 6. We've now actually satisfied that entire clue. Now the 7 has to take a second cell. Remember, this has to take 5 total plus 2, so those can't connect. Filling in what results, we can get those cells in. Shading down here. The 8 can't all be in this row, so it's got to have some that comes down. That now finishes off this 5. The 7 needs 1 more. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll finish that clue. The 6 needs 1 more, but this has to still escape, so we can give it 1 more cell to do that escape. Get to this point, and looking at the clues we've yet to fulfill, the 8's worth doing now. It's 5, 6, 7, 8. This gives another shaded cell that has to escape. And we get to a place where now we have a pretty similar resolution of 2 sides, but they both come from a particular kind of thinking, which is this 2 is going to take one of these cells. We don't know which, but that's going to be one value from the 3. And that means the other cell the 3 takes is going to be one of these, but not both. So if the 4 has to take 4 cells, if it took this cell, 1, 2, 3, can't take that, that wouldn't work. So the 4 has to take the one to the left, canceling that, which you'll see requires it to come all the way across. This cell now being part of the cave means the shading of that part has to be like this. Avoiding the checkerboard pattern, we get to this state. We have the same pattern here. Again, the 4 has to come across to take all those cells. The 3 comes down, and that's how you solve diagonal series.